Good morning, happy Tuesday. Michelle Lee here with the Sophia Mystery School. As you know, your spiritual and personal development coach and mentor, here to talk about unity consciousness, oneness consciousness. Now, becoming 5D, as I have talked about, it has 3 pillars, and those are the same pillars as becoming self-actualized. We get to become self-actualized to be at the frequency of the 5th dimension. And one of those pillars, all of them work together, absolutely. So you need all 3 of those working together. It's the Holy Trinity, honestly. But today we're talking about oneness consciousness or unity consciousness and embodying that. And you hear lots of people saying, we're one, we are all one. We are the one appearing as many. And it's one thing, like we can it's kind of hard to conceive, right? And we can say it, but there's not an embodiment of it. Hey Tracy, thanks for tuning in. Let me know when you pop in where you're tuning in from. If you're seeing this on the replay, hit hashtag replay. Hello Michael, so good to see you here. We can talk about oneness, but one thing, our brains have a really hard time conceiving it. But we can talk about oneness and we have an idea of what that means. But unity consciousness, oneness consciousness needs to be embodied in order for us to become 5D. And as we become 5D, we kind of go back and forth, right? Like we can access that higher part of ourselves where we can recognize the divinity within us, that we are divine beings, and we can recognize the divinity in those around us. Even though we are appearing as self and others, unity consciousness is recognizing there is no self and there are no others. And in order to truly embody that, we get to heal those 4 core wounds. Why is that important? Well, because while we are wounded with those core wounds, shame, guilt, fear of rejection, and fear of abandonment, we actually don't want oneness, right? Because we don't want anybody to see our shit, what the aspects of ourselves we may feel guilty about or ashamed of. And because we have judged those, we have put them in our shadow, we have exiled those parts of ourselves, we have decided that those parts of ourselves are unlovable. So the other 2 core wounds, fear of rejection and fear of abandonment, are triggered. We don't want anybody out there to see those aspects of ourselves for fear that we won't get what we need. Love, appreciation, wanted, we want to be wanted, right? And so those 2 other core wounds, fear of rejection and fear of abandonment, are triggered. And until we heal those wounds, we actually can't help but to see separation as the rule. And that is a low vibration. That's the 3D vibration. That's why we came into the 3D vibration. It's not that we want to avoid 3D vibration, but if you're being called to evolve, to ascend, to awaken, and not everybody is, and that's totally cool, right? Everything belongs here on planet Earth. It's a very special planet Earth where we get to play in all of the realms, the densest of the dense and the highest of the highest realms. We get to play here. But if you're being called and you want to awaken and you're tired of looping and getting stuck at a certain income level or attracting the same kind of partners over and over, and you understand, like, you feel the truth in the oneness concept. You feel the truth in the ability to manifest whatever you want, but it's not happening for you, right? You're not actually creating the way you want to create. You're still looping in those things that aren't working. Then what's important is to go into those 4 core wounds and heal the 4 core wounds. It's part of the 3 steps. And I highly recommend at least having this in your back pocket, knowing how to approach shame and release it and embody the divine truth that is the opposite of shame and guilt. With all of the 4 core wounds, you get to embody the truth, activate the truth. I really see like we're wired with truth, but we have all of this programming over that wiring. And that programming is what controls us 95, 98% of the time. Every decision we make is based on those 4 core wounds, our unconscious fears. And that's why for the rest of the month, I have made my program Sourcing Oneness by Healing the Core Wounds. It's a recorded program, half off. And Tori is going to put the link in the comments below so you can access that very special offer. And I want to share with you everything you get. It's completely recorded, so once you download all of this training, all of this workshop, you have it forever. And it's super important because if you're going to go into shadow integration, this makes shadow integration a breeze. Because when we start diving deep into our shadows, what becomes triggered? Shame, guilt, right? Because it was shame and guilt, fear of rejection, fear of abandonment that caused us to hide those parts of ourselves in the first place. It was like, oh, I just said that thing, or I laughed really loud and my mom yelled at me and said I was obnoxious. Oh my God, I don't want to be obnoxious. I'm ashamed of how I just laughed. And we put that down. That becomes our shadow. And when we start diving deep into those shadow aspects, what turns people away from the shadow work is the shame and guilt that not often accompanies it, it always accompanies it. Because our entire lives we have been going, ooh, look at that terrible, angry, hateful person over there. I would never do that. When we dive into the shadow work, we discover, oh, actually, I have been angry and hateful, and I've hid that part of myself. Now I feel ashamed, and I feel guilty, and I want to reject myself. I want to abandon myself. Everybody else is going to. And so having this Sourcing Oneness training in your back pocket is super important. So I want to tell you a little bit about it. You get 4 recorded trainings where we move through each and every one of the core wounds. We first go through shame, and then we go through guilt, fear of abandonment, fear of rejection, one by one. And here's how it works. I take you through releasing shame, like really connecting to whatever you feel shameful about. Even if you can't connect to any shame, which we're really good at hiding that shadow from us, the people involved live in the recording, they bring up a lot of things they feel shame about, and usually that will trigger something within you. And we go through and we release those aspects through emotional freedom technique. Now, shame, the underlying belief of shame is I am bad. I am bad. And so after you go through and you tap out and you release, you get some of that shame from a level 8, 9, or 10 down to a 0, 1, 2, or 3, then you get a 20-minute hypnosis anchoring and embodying the divine truth that is the opposite of the 4 core wounds. So shame, like I said, is I am bad. Then you get the hypnosis of I am good. So it works both ways. We're releasing that core wound, healing it, and then replacing with the divine truth, activating that divine truth through the power of hypnotherapy. So you get that hypnosis. And then when you purchase this, you'll download all of this. It's immediately accessible to you. Okay, so you can start working on it. And then we do the same thing with guilt. We go through and we release any guilt. You can do this over and over. And then you have the hypnosis Guilt is I do bad things, I hurt people, right? I cause people pain. The divine truth to that guilt is I am a blessing. So you go through and you activate that I am a blessing. And then we go through fear of abandonment, right? Being unwanted, I am wanted. Fear of rejection, being unlovable to being lovable. So you get all of these recordings downloaded. And then there's a couple of bonuses. There's a bonus Q&A bonus where I answer everyone's questions. There's also a deep hypnosis for reconnecting with your soul purpose, getting clarity on your soul purpose. And there's also a hypnosis to what is the word? Not activate, but increase your intuition. So you get all of these bonuses, plus you get 4 hours of training, 4 hypnoses that go with that. And then you also get a private coaching call with me, 1 hour private coaching call with me. And how I suggest that you use this is you go through the first 2 core wounds. If you know what core wound is really running your life, maybe it's fear of abandonment really runs your life. So you'll want to wait till after you do that training, and I want you to go in order because shame is the deepest, densest, it's the densest. Guilt is the next densest. And it's that shame and guilt that actually leads to fear of abandonment and fear of rejection. So I want you to do at least the first 2 trainings before you book your call with me, because you're going to be able to share with me like what came up, what you got stuck on or anything, and I can take you through some other processes to help heal those parts of yourselves that feel shameful, guilty, or deeply afraid of being rejected or abandoned. So that's how I would like you to work this. This is one pillar of becoming 5D, and this is a foundational pillar, right? Because if you are harboring, even unconsciously, and that's how most of us harbor it, because feeling shameful is the most disgusting feeling. If any of you have felt shame, and you can't be born onto planet Earth and not experience shame. It is a part of duality. It's why we came here. We can't feel shame being one with our divine creator, being in that oneness, right? We don't feel shame. And we can't experience oneness if we're harboring that shame. We just can't. So many people talk about like in the higher dimensions, they're telepathic. And that freaks people out. Like, I don't want anybody knowing what I'm thinking. It's because we harbor shame and guilt and fear of rejection and fear of abandonment. We can't, the 3 pillars of becoming 5D is that oneness, healing those core wounds. It's owning your divine power, which is integrating the shadow, which we talked about. When you begin integrating the shadow, that triggers some of that shame and guilt. So you want this in your back pocket, because when we start doing the shadow work, if we start feeling shame and we freak out like, I don't want to know that, right? Then we stop it. We stop our progress. We stop our ascension, and we have the free will to do that. And then the other piece is sovereignty, which is having power with our declarative prayer and having power with our rituals. If we're harboring shame and guilt and fear, we actually can't access all of our power as creative beings, as manifesting beings, which is why we do declarative prayer or rituals, right? But we actually can't access that concentrated power that is available to us if we're harboring shame and guilt. Number one, we don't even feel worthy of having that power. We don't trust ourselves because we're harboring that shame and guilt. So that's why I have made this program, which you can work through at your own pace. I have it set to go fast paced. Like, you can get it done in 14 days, 2 days for every every core wound, because I like working accelerated like that. If you go through it fast and just take the stuff that comes to you quickly, then you're going to release a whole layer. And then you have the program to go back to and go back through more slowly. But I like that really accelerated, where you can't get too much in your head, you can't overthink it. What comes up, and you can release it and then activate those divine truths. So you can go through it in 14 days if you want to. You don't have to, right? You can do it at your own pace. But if you have this program, then you've just anchored one of those pillars of becoming 5D, one of the most important pillars of becoming 5D. Like I said, they all work together, but this one is like the foundation. And that's why I felt it was so important to take 50% off of it. And so through the end of the month, through November 30th, you can get this program and download it immediately. Rather than $1,500, it's $750. And that includes one coaching call with me where we can go deep for an hour. Anywhere you get stuck or need some extra support, I can guide you through that. And you will experience tremendous release and healing. And then you'll have this in your personal and spiritual development healing library for the rest of your life. You download it on your device and you've got this. So Tori's going to pop in the link so you can hop over and get that right away. There's a coupon code for you to get the 50% off. Like I said, this is through November 30th. I want you to have an opportunity to get this. And then, you know, maybe you'll be interested in coming in January into Making Light of Your Shadow, where we implement the shadow integration, and then you'll already have in your back pocket how to move through those, which we still do in the group, move through those core wounds as they're triggered or expressed within the program. But for now, this is a super cool and life-transforming. You will hear how the clients in the program, I actually recorded this, I don't know, it was a few years ago. And you'll hear the women in the group, how they transform in just a few days. Because I think we did this program in 14 days. It was boom, boom, boom. And within those 2 weeks, people were noticing the difference. That their families, their coworkers were like, wow, you are different. You're brighter. You're smiling so much more. You will hear that. Because as you release this unconscious stuff, which we do very rapidly, you become lighter. Which is why you become 5D, and you can actually access that oneness, because 3D is about separation. And in order to activate that kind of separation, it actually required shame and guilt. It required these core wounds to be held within us to keep us anchored to have this experience of the 3D. And now, if you're feeling moved and you want to release them, this is a program that's perfect for that. If you have any questions, pop them in the comments below. Reach out to us. We're happy to answer anything you have around this, and we would love for you to reap the benefits of healing the core wounds, and don't carry that shit into 2024, right? No need to be that heavy, no need to be that dense. It's time to lighten your load, and this program will definitely do that. All right, everyone, thanks for tuning in. If you just now tuned in, I hope you listen to the replay, because we have a great offer and a great opportunity for you. Mwah. Bye for now. Have an amazing day.